Welcome back to the show that walks you through the archives of R&B craftsmanship, brotherhood, and legacy. In case you've been living on the moon for the last 10 years, the gentleman to my right is...
I go by the name of Bryan-Michael Cox, and the gentleman to my left is the great...
Johnta Austin. Welcome to Sessions.
Yeah, man, let's...
All right, so what's going on?
Hey, man, I think that we should dive into, how producers have changed in music, like which producers and which era. There's always an era where there's like a shift, right?
Yes.
And we can always go, we can talk about, from doo-wop to Motown to James Brown's funk, from James Brown's, soul and funk to the 70s. You know what I mean? There's so many different...
Yeah.
What are the key components? Who are some of the people that you think, in those early days that kind of led up to where we are now, that kind of like shifted the game?
I mean, I definitely think you hit the nail on the head with Berry Gordy creating, the Motown sound.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It was an identity.
That was the first time we ever saw that,
Right.
too. Like somebody saying that there was an actual
sound
on it.
It was a sound. It was an image. It was an identity.
Yeah.
There was a formula, that Mr. Gordy, had. Great songs, great lyric and melody, the musicianship that was being used, and then just great artists.
And I feel like
top of that.
he was purposely going after, he wanted to set a tone from a pop culture perspective. I think that, especially in those days, there was a lot of, because what we were going through as a culture, there's a lot of, activism coming up, a lot of music making, a lot of the creativity was about, what was happening with the struggle. And I think that Mr. Gordy really found a way to bridge the gap, still represent what was going on during the time, but also give people something that, give us a platform to cross over per se. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
It really did.
Yeah.
Brought two groups together. When Motown era starts, we're living in segregation. By the time you get to the end of the 60s, that music brought people together.
Yeah, it was the music was used to, as you say, bridge that gap, and then we go into the 70s.
Yeah. 60s jam-packed though. It's James Brown.
Yeah.
The
Atlantic,
Isley Brothers. Like the 60s is jam-packed. You know what I'm saying? And then you go into the 70s, and then you got Curtis Mayfield and George Clinton, Maurice White, and the Earth, Wind, and Fire. And of course, the Isley Brothers basically extended their run in the 70s.
And then the Motown artists, the evolution and the maturation, Stevie, Marvin. Continued on.
Yeah.
Barry White.
Barry White, a sound.
A sound.
You know what I mean? Like, you knew what a Barry White record sounded like from the time it come on, like you drop that needle down. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like the Love Unlimited Orchestra, like you knew exactly what that was. The
orchestra, my man, the maestro.
The maestro.
Man.
The maestro. You know
Shout out, rest in peace to the maestro.
The maestro.
Man,
Barry White.
Impeccable beard.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Barry White ran so that Rick Ross could fly. I mean,
Beard is on point.
Beard was immaculate. Man, always had the voice.
Yeah.
I am partial to, we talk about this record often, you and I. And I'm on record saying, and it's a bold statement because this record had a lot of great verses. Secret Garden.
Yeah.
I always ask people, who had the best verse on Secret Garden, and why do you think it's Barry White?
Exactly.
They all did.
Oh, yeah.
Elder James Ingram.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You can't.
James got that high note off, and I think that's what.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'll take good care of you.
It was so beautifully simple too.
Pristine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we can't go without talking about the great Quincy Jones. We know that Quincy's we put him at,
Through many eras. So now
60s?
Quincy is through all of these
From
eras, like
bebop
to bebop to for big band.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Before before getting into bebop with Miles and Charlie Parker and Herbie.
Sarah Vaughan
Exactly,
and
like
Ella
it's
Fitzgerald, all
big
that.
band starting there with Frank Sinatra and Dizzy Gillespie and Duke Ellington and
They
that
broke so much ground.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he's the most important person to me in music, period.
And
Quincy Jones.
then we get into so we get the 80s. Obviously, from an artistic standpoint, you have Michael and Prince.
Prince, yeah. It was a lot of great things
Early
happening in
on.
black music though in the early
Right.
80s.
At the same, you always say, Brian always points out, he's like, in an era where in a decade where people talk about Prince and Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie got a quiet 15 million on an album. He got a quiet diamond record
saved
off.
Motown Records.
Right.
Saved them. 1983, saved them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like to point out, we always have this conversation about the 80s. 1982 is probably the greatest year in music because Thriller comes out. Prince's 1999 comes out. George Clinton's Atomic Dog is released. Grandmaster Flash's The Message is 1982. Like, that's 82. 82 was like one of the greatest years in music, period, but specifically black music.
Absolutely.
You got artists like D-Train, artists like Sky, artists like all these groups, Kool and the Gang would celebrate, all these records. 82 was like one of these years, kind of like a really, really big year and a transitional year for black music. Leon Silvers is doing it big with Solar Records with Shalimar's record Friends and The Whispers. And 82 was a year. It's like I always pinpoint that year, right? I always say 82 and then I always say 88. Because 88 is, when we get the full-fledged
the culmination.
The culmination of all those things. You get it at its... It was leading up to that point. You have these young creators from the Kashif era. Leon said you got people under that. Hip hop is under there. You got people under that coming up. You know what I'm saying? And you get to 88, now you have Jimmy and Terry in his peak. You have Ellie and Kenny creating, getting to that place where they peak. You got Teddy.
Then you have a producer who takes the beauty of R&B, the lyric and melody.
And chord changes.
Yes, and the chord changes and the edge, the edginess, and the hard-hitting, feel of hip-hop.
Exactly.
And puts them together. And it works.
Explodes.
Right. It didn't just work.
Yeah, it explodes.
You create a new genre of music.
He changes the way that his heroes make music.
Yes.
He changed the way Jimmy and Terry made music.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? He changed the way that Quincy had to look at music. That's a huge feat right there.
It's kind of like if you compare it to boxing, right? You can say, Jimmy and Terry, Ellie and Kenny is like, Jack Johnson, Henry Armstrong, Sugar Ray Robinson.
Yeah.
And then you have a kid come along, I shook up the world. Now it's Ali. It's a young, I took everything that they were doing. And now it's young, it's colorful, it's black.
Black as hell.
It's black. It's youthful. It's pure. But it's all of those. There's substance there.
Yeah. So my question in the transition there, how do you know, how do you know when this culture shifts? Do you remember what were the moments you remember when in our lives where culture shifted? We speak about Teddy naturally.
Yeah. I think for me, it was definitely, because I was young, still getting my, musical footing up under me. My godmother had exposed me to the Motown sound. My brother wouldn't get me into, the 70s Stevie until later. So, the shift for me was Make It Last Forever. I think that was one of the shifts. and then I later, because '82, I'm too young to experience Thriller. Obviously,
Yeah.
when I'm born, but then it wasn't until like I didn't come into Mike and really appreciate it until Bad.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? But I think that Make It Last Forever was a shift that I remember. And then I think the second shift would be a hip hop shift,
Okay.
would be Dre
Dr. Dre.
and The Chronic. I think that was, and he had already shifted it
With NWA.
with NWA, with 2 albums from NWA. But yeah, I think that was probably like, those are 2 major shifts, R&B and hip hop, for me would be Teddy and Dre.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's like, definitely agree with you on that. I think that if we go into the 90s, we got to talk about like like what Jermaine did, what Puff and Hitman did.
Absolutely.
Then you lean into really Timbaland.
Yeah.
Timbaland's a shift. Timbaland and Missy is a
Timbaland,
real shift.
they were real change. Yeah.
Pharrell and Chad is a proper shift. Like I said earlier, '82 for me is like, as a student, I look at that year and I say that year changed everything. For Michael, it changed everything. For Prince, it changed everything. It changed the way we looked at music. Right on the cusp of MTV, which I think that's a real transitional. We go from being only on record and only on Soul Train and only on American Bandstand to now you can watch your artist every day, all day.
Right, 24 hours a day.
You know what I'm saying?
Consume, yeah.
I always say, we talked about this the other day, talk about Christopher Cross and how he's the only artist to win all 4 big awards in one night, right?
Yeah.
In 1980. And it never got on the stage again because he came out during an era where it was now MTV started to come in and this guy is just a country guy from Texas who plays guitar and he wrote some great songs and the songs mattered that much that he won Album of the Year, Song of the Year, Best New Artist, and Record of the Year. And then once MTV happened, it became more about imagery.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
well, that your image then factored into it became about total artistry.
Okay, I get it. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like before, you could possibly, the music, the voice. Even though I will say that Berry Gordy and what he built was focused on total artistry because they were together from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Like, he put into image.
He put them out there. They was on the Motown reviews and they look right. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. But I think, I think that, MTV made it so, the visuals just had to be on point at all times.
Michael took advantage of that.
And then Michael took advantage of it.
In a real way.
He was like, it's like a star. You know what I mean? So, I got a question for you.
Okay.
So, what was your first record or your first introduction to the New Jack Swing sound?
Okay. I remember it so vividly because I remember being in 5th grade.
Okay.
And in Houston, when your 5th grade year, you go to this camp. It's called Camp Olympia. You go to camp for like a week or 2 or something like that. And I remember that went to camp, and it felt like, a lifetime when you're a kid. If a week or 2 feels like a lifetime. You know
Absolutely.
What I mean? And I remember coming back and radio had changed. Like I remember coming back and hearing Groove Me and being like, what is this? You know what I mean? And my mother and my aunts, they was outside, they was at the clubs. They was, back in the day, Houston, they had the club called Rhinestone Wrangler. They had Panache, all these clubs, all these names.
I'm sorry.
I remember being the Rhinestone Wrangler.
The name of the club was the Rhinestone.
One of the most popular legendary clubs in Houston, Texas. If you was a kid, you knew your parents was going to the Rhinestone Wrangler.
If you was a kid, he's telling you. Your parents were at the Rhinestone Wrangler.
Rhinestone Wrangler, clubs like Panache and Studio 4.4, all these clubs that were all these names I would hear on the radio.
This is before Jamaica.
Oh, Jamaica was open doing it. Jamaica was open during
Shout
like the
out to
late
Jamaica,
80s.
Jamaica.
Yeah,
Holla at
Jamaica
your
was
boy.
open. It was open.
You know?
So yeah, that's good. But my mom used to be out. They used to be out. Like that was their thing. They'd go to work and they'd be outside. My mom and aunt, they had a whole crew. It'd be all her sisters, and they'd go out. And this was the soundtrack to their lifestyle. You know what I mean? My mother always, it was a store in Houston called Sound Waves. I guess back then releases were Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. Every week, my mom would go to Sound Waves, get a stack of records, spend money on them records, come home, and that'll be the soundtrack for the week. Like, okay, we going out tonight, put on. And the one thing my mom, because I always give my mom her credit when it comes to like my taste in music. But the one thing that she loved about Guy was that she's like, they sound like the Gap Band. These little niggas sound like the Gap Band. That was her whole thing. And when she saw them, it was like, oh, these guys are fly. The music is crazy. You got the album, top to finish. We wore the album out. So for me, I've always been a credit reader. I've always been a person that looked at credits and always was intrigued by like who produced what, who's in the parentheses. You know what I'm saying? I always wanted to know who's in the parentheses. I knew the address to labels because I would memorize the address to labels. Just you know.
Yeah.
Right? And I just remember being so enamored with the sound that I went back to kind of like everything that sounded like that. I would go and look to see who produced it, and it would be a consistent name. It'd be Teddy Riley.
Right.
Even if his name wasn't on the production credit, I'm always reading like the real credits and be like, okay, let's say that, and we'll get into that. Let's say that Gene would take full credit for my prerogative, right?
Right.
On the Bobby Brown album, it says produced by Gene Griffin. But if you read the credits,
correct.
It says all instruments performed by Teddy Riley, arranged, mixed by Teddy Riley. So I was like, my little brain is putting it together like, this is Teddy Riley. Whenever I see Gene's name, this is really Teddy.
Right.
So I remember that too, like coordinating that, like, so just as you grow up and you start learning the music business and hearing people's stories, you understand. As I got older, I understood what was going on. But for me, it's been a lifestyle, a lifetime of New Jack Swing. Like I always he's the reason why I'm a producer. Like period, point blank in the story. You know what I'm saying?
And so many producers say that, right? Like, so, I've heard you say it. I've heard JD say it. Pharrell, Rodney Jerkins, all of
look at all
these,
of the children
of
that.
And as you said, made the ones that came before him also change how they approached production. So just the impact of the future generations, and it really speaks to the name of that guy. Like Teddy was in the future.
Yeah.
Like the guy,
pun intended.
Like pun intended. Like Teddy was already in the future. Like I'm 2026, and the impact is still there, and having impact on the people, that came before him. So people, when you see us, when we come back, I hope you see where this is going. We're talking about, legends, but specifically, we're talking about one legend. And in a minute, we're gonna talk to that legend, Mr. Teddy Riley, when we come back. Yes, sir.
When we come back.
Welcome back. Listen, people, listen. We say the word legend a lot. In my opinion, it gets overused, right? But we're about to talk to a legend, all right? There, as the kids say, there's levels to this. Can I set the tone?
Set the tone, baby.
To get to this level, if you don't have a genre of music named after you, you're not on this level.
You're not on this level, exactly.
To be on this level, you have to, we're talking impact.
Yeah.
Decades. Generations. Relevance. From the time it came out to right
Today.
now, the music is still as important, still as prolific, still as jamming
Yeah.
as it was when we first heard it. None like him. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sessions, the great Teddy Riley. Yes, yes,
There he
indeed.
is. There he is.
My brother. Oh, what an honor. Thank you for
Thank
being
y'all
here.
for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is special.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Oh, my
Yes, sir.
goodness. Welcome. Welcome, sir.
First of all, thank you for coming, man. I know that you're running around. Got the book going, which we're definitely going to talk about that because your story, man, is long overdue. That's been finally being told. You know what I'm saying?
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing. Perfect timing. So, man, let's start from the beginning, man. Like, a lot of people don't really know that you actually, were a child prodigy. And one of your first groups was Kids at Work. And you guys had a major deal and put records out. And so, like, how did that come together? What was that like, especially in New York City during that period? Like, what was the temperature like? What was the business like?
Well, then I was actually in two bands.
Okay.
And both were signed to, one was signed to CBS, and then when Sony came, Sony, we had Kids at Work
Okay.
on Sony.
Okay.
But it's all the same family.
Okay.
But we were all signed to Gene
Okay.
Griffin. And when we were signed to him, we did a deal with my first band, which is Total Climax.
Okay.
And I used to do top 40 with that band.
So, question: how old were you when you went in these bands?
I was 15. And then I got in Kids at Work at 17, 18.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a record with them. We did a record with Total Climax. But the record with Kids at Work just kind of elevated my creativity because after that, I didn't want to do R&B.
Oh, okay.
And kind of stepped out of it because Kids at Work failed.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to roll with failures. You want to keep going. You want to make some hits. And,
I got you.
And that was my thing. So I just kept striving to make some records good records, because I never say I have a hit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have to, be a hit by itself. And, all I was doing is just making good music. And I just started working with a lot of rappers.
So was that how you transitioned to, like, Dougie Fresh and the Kumo D's and like Heavy D? Like, how did those transitions happen? Did that happen during that era or shortly after?
Actually, it was during a little before, because I used to be fans of them. I used to go to the Real Harlem World to go see them perform. And I would see Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, as you know, that's Andre Harrell. I would see Disco 4 plus one more, and Dougie Fresh, and Crash Crew, Furious 5, Big Daddy Kane, who else? Slick Rick, Busy Bee, Lovebug Starsky, and that's when I was a hustler.
Then this is when, like, hip-hop is like...
This is like 82, 83, and then I got kicked off the block. And everybody, I guess it was like, if it was the real business and, you was going for credit, my credit was no good. It was not. It was like, you can't come on the block. You do music, man. We want you to stay in that music.
They want you to succeed.
And that was everywhere I went to try and get work. And, because we had to make ends meet. And then when they finally one crew just let me come back out, and that was my lesson, seeing myself at the precinct, telling the actual officer who arrested me, he said, what you want to be, because he kept like looking at me, he saw something special. He said, what you want to be when you grow up? And I said, man, I want to be a musician, I want to be a star. He said, well, you ain't going to be no star in here. And he really gave me a come to Jesus talk. And after that, long behold, I'm with Kids at Work and I'm with Total Climax. Then I got with Keith Sweat, all in the 80s. And I wound up seeing that police officer again doing patrol, my first show at the Apollo.
Wow.
And this is in the book, and it's also in my film. This was our first sold-out 4 shows at the Apollo, guy.
This guy.
But we're going to backtrack because I know y'all going to want
Mhm.
to know some things about 82 and 81. But my first show guy at the Apollo, he was doing patrol at the front of the Apollo, and I had just got my my convertible Mercedes.
Mhm.
And I pulled up, and I pulled up straight in front of him. And it was a surreal moment of just seeing him doing patrol from the time I told him
Wow.
I
What you
wanted
want
to be something in the business. And he literally had tears in his eyes, seeing me. And I said, I didn't know your name, but I put you on my album, on the Guy album. And I said, the officer that arrested me and gave me a wake-up call,
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a moment where I knew I was going somewhere.
Wow. Wow, man. That's an amazing moment. Amazing, like, circle,
Yeah.
Full
full
circle.
circle
Yeah.
moment. You know what I'm
Shout out
saying?
to the officer and the crew that barred you from the block
Oh yeah,
because, yeah,
Exactly.
without that, we don't, you know what I
Exactly.
mean?
yeah.
Exactly.
They did the world a service,
I,
keeping
I,
you in the.
I
Oh yeah,
think that,
oh yeah.
yeah, man. We talk about Harlem and, how important that scene was. You named a lot of artists. You talked about a lot of legendary places. I read somewhere that there was a studio in the club,
Yeah, at the rooftop.
the rooftop. It was a studio in the
Rooftop
club.
roller skating ring. And how we ended up doing that because I used to always wanted to be with my uncle because he was like the only role model for me, and he did a lot of things great for us in Harlem, having clubs and spots and places where we were able to eat. We had, a hamburger stand that was the famous hamburger stand. If you've seen Paid in Full, where they all pull up with their cars and the BMWs and you see this Willie Burgers.
Yeah.
That was my uncle.
Wow.
And Willie was the person who actually took me under his wing. And first I was working at his after hour spot, just going to the store for all I call them the celebrity hustlers, And I would go to the store for everybody until, it got a little hot. When it got hot, I was making music in there too.
Okay.
And we had the band, we would perform in the after hour spot. Certain days they would want entertainment. So my band and I we would perform, and we had Jackie McGee was one of our singers.
Word.
So
Word.
so doing that, it got a little hot. When it got hot, he was like, "Man, you can't come here anymore." They had just raided the whole place. Took all the money, and I was like, "Wow." So where am I gonna go? It was like a sad moment. And then he said, "Get in the car with me." So we're driving to the roller skating rink, rooftop. And we get there, he said, "This is where you're gonna be. I wanna introduce you to my partner, and you guys put it all together, and, but you're gonna come up here. You're gonna come back to the after hour spot." So kind of saved me from that because when they raided again, so if I
Wow.
would have been in there, they would have gotten even more trouble. So I was underage. So long and behold, I'm in the rooftop. I'm bored because I don't roller skate. And I just try to roller skate to be cool around the girls. And fell a lot of times, not a couple times, a lot. And I just say, yo, I just can't do this. So I wound up asking Gusto, my partner, yo, why don't you build a studio upstairs? He said, that would be a good idea. And when he built it, it's like everything just started opening up. He
Wow.
bought a Kai 12 track. And he bought me a drum machine, and I had the Korg DDD1, which is the drum machine I did Keats What I Wanna, Just Got Paid, Groove Me, and all those records.
Wow.
My prerogative, but I used a sequencer. It was a Alesis sequencer.
Alesis.
So it was just the sequencer, drum machine, and I had D50.
D50, the classic,
And
classic sounds out of that thing.
but when I went to work in the studio, like before all of that, when I couldn't afford a drum machine, it's around 82, when I did Rap's New Generation and those records, I used to go in every studio and just learn the drum machine on the spot.
That was right there.
Yeah, right there.
Wow.
Whatever drum machine was there. So I kind of learned SB 1200, the DX, the Oberheim,
Around, yeah.
and then 808, and then they had the 909, the what else? The 78.
You had to learn fast because studio time is money.
Studio time was money.
So if
Yeah.
if it's a drum machine in front of you, like, man, I got to get this now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's crazy.
So I wound up doing all of those records on that 12 track. I did Go See the Doctor, you know, How You Like Me Now,
How You Like
all
Me
those
Now.
records, you know, on there. The Guy record, Keith Sweat, you know. I just wore that machine out.
Wow.
And it became my go-to because a lot of the songs that we did and we brought to the studio, they couldn't duplicate it, you know. They couldn't make it sound the same as like I had it.
Yeah.
So I had to always take the 12 track down to the studio and dump from there straight to the track,
Yeah.
generate new time code. And
Would you do, when you had the 12 track, were you doing separate, were you stemming your drums out on there or just
Oh, no.
2 track and just
no,
vocals?
I would definitely separate the
Okay.
drums.
Okay.
Yeah, I would do that, but we have to do it all at once. So the DDD1, I think, had eight outputs, and I would just take it and put it to that. But at some point, I did do like just a stereo of the drums.
Okay.
But I realized when I did that, if I had to do it over, I would have to record the whole thing over.
Oh.
So, man, we didn't really have like something that will kind of run both things, the machine and everything together.
Same time.
So we would just take the 12 track and just redo everything, you know, record that first and dump that, and then try to get the sound as close.
Wow.
So,
Wow, man. Question, man. You know, there's a folklore about the Dougie Fresh and Kid Fresh crew, the song, the show. And I know we've spoken about it. How did you get involved with that record? I mean, I know that, you know, there are a lot of different stories, but I know your story. How did you get involved with that record? And I could definitely hear your influence on that record.
the show.
Mm-hmm.
I got involved with the show because Dougie Fresh and I, we went to the same high school, Park East, and we were introduced by a mutual friend. And because I always knew him from being on stage, you know, and
Yeah.
seeing him at Harlem World. So I always wanted to meet him, even if it was just to meet him. But, you know, LaVeba is the guy who introduced us. And when LaVeba introduced us, he said, I think he needs your help on this song, you know. 'Cause they had the show already pre-made, but it didn't have, like, the ingredients that I put in.
Yeah.
And that was basically the shaker, taking my drum machine, tuning down all the drums, opening it up, and tuning down the shaker and tuning down the tom. And
What drum machine was that?
that was the
Oberheim?
Oberheim. Yes. And when I did that, you know, I just kind of gave him the advice that, you know, with this record, you have too many commercials and breakdowns, as you can hear.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that kept it going was shaker. And that was the key of the record.
Wow.
So,
And that shaker is a legendary shaker because it ends up being like Slick Rick's children's
Yep,
stories.
sure.
It ended up being like, you know what I mean? Like that particular sound became a thing. You know what I mean? That's crazy.
so that's how I got involved. And really, on that day, I wasn't feeling good, and I was in trouble with my mom. So she was like, "You just gonna tell him how to do it over the phone." So I told him how to make the beat over the phone.
Wow.
And what to do with the drum machine and everything. And
You did that over the
they
phone?
didn't. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So they didn't have the proper way to do it because it was 16 instead of 16 triplets. So I said, y'all need to change it to 16 triplets, or just take it off. If you can match what I played,
You
you
just
know,
do it
for
freehand
them.
if you can.
And they did it, and that's how, you know, really I became a part of the song.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. I mean, we talked about Keith Sweat earlier, and your early relationship with Keith Sweat. You guys made an album that I always tell people albums that are short. Like, you take like Michael Jackson's Thriller. You take like, you know, records have 8 songs, 9 songs.
Correct.
if you can nail it in 8 songs, man, you got a classic. And I
Yeah.
feel like Keith Sweat's Make It Last Forever is like the quintessential, I say, if you are trying to get an entry to New Jack Swing, if you're trying to understand the music, understand the genre, your entry point should be Keith Sweat, Make It Last Forever.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I mean, you're talking about what it took for you to make those records, but all I hear is the pristine. It's clean, but it's still grimy, but it has all these beautiful chords, but it still knocks. Like, I think the best example is when Chris says that, all the hustlers was bumping Make It Last Forever, like all the drug dealers was playing Make It Last Forever, like the song
Right.
Make It Last Forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, because the
absolutely.
bass was just the way that it was mixed, the way it sound. You know what I mean? The feel of it. Kind of take us through the process of you guys creating that masterpiece.
Well, when Keith Sweat actually came around my hood in the projects, we were all shooting dice and playing CeeLo, and he wanted to jump in. But his sole purpose was to come there to talk to me about doing his R&B record. Now, how Keith and I met each other was through bands. He was with a band called Jamila. I was with a band called Total Climax. And Johnny Kemp was with a band called Kinky Fox.
Okay.
And we would rotate. So, like, we would be in this club, Jamila would be in that club, and Kinky Fox would be in this club. We would just rotate.
Okay.
And we played top 40. So Keith used to always admire me playing with the band, and we actually competed against each other.
Okay.
My band and his band, and my band wound up winning. I think it was solely because I was young, young keyboard player, and my whole just thing was a story that the judges can tell, and I was keeping up, because I was the young one. I was the young buck that was playing with 19, 20, 21-year-olds, and I'm 15, 16 years old. So when we won, later on, Keith came around the block, and we kind of sidebar after he beat us out of our money. We sidebar, and he's like, "Man, I ain't come to really gamble. I came to talk to you. So I'm about to work on this record. Everybody keep telling me you making these beats. I'm trying to do an R&B record. So I'm thinking you can rap or something, because I done gave up on R&B that fast." So he said, "Man, I'm doing an R&B album, man." And I said, "Man, I'm not trying to do no R&B.
Wow.
He said, "Man, all you gotta do is just take them church chords and put it with them hip-hop beats that you're doing for everybody and see what it come out to be." And I said, "All right." He said, "Well, I'm gonna call you, man. Just, I'm gonna call you." I said, "Man, I'm not waiting by my phone, So, long and behold, I took it to heart. I just went in the house and I said that this could be my chance of getting back into, R&B. So my first track was "I Wanna." First beat.
Wow.
And all I was doing was basically, kind of cultivating a style where one hand is doing this over here while this hand is doing this, and it's syncopating. It's like, so.
Yeah.
So it's the first time my mom ever came out of her room. It's my mother's church.
Yeah.
When she heard this, she was like, "What is that?" And I said,
Wow.
"Mom, this is for the guy that came with the suit on." She said, "Oh, yeah." She said, "You know what I want you to do? Because this is special. I want you to do copyright it." I said, "How?" She said, "You're going to take it, put it on the cassette,
Send it to yourself.
and send it to yourself. It's the poor man copyright."
Yeah.
And I did that. And she's like, "Okay, now you can go ahead and give it to him."
That's crazy.
That's
Um,
amazing.
and I got it to him, and he came to the house, and we kind of came. I already had the hook and everything.
You know what I'm saying? I was gonna ask because
And
it's
all of
very,
those.
very Teddy coded when the hook.
Right.
If you know anything about you listen to Teddy's records, especially records that he sings on, it's very, very specific. And that sounds like "Spend the Night." It sounds like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
is like the precursor to No Diggity. I Wanna gives that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do have a question though. How, in that moment for your mother to like come out of her room and like take that kind of a notice, what kind of a feeling? Because I think we all have that memory of
Yeah.
when our
Yeah, with our
parents like
parents,
kind of,
yep.
Yeah.
like, okay, you
got something.
you might not be too bad at this.
Yeah.
Like, what was that like for you for moms to, come out and be like, what's that?
It was amazing,
Yeah.
because even from the moment that I made my mother, first time I made her proud was 9 years old, playing piano in church. Keyboard player wasn't there that day, and she told me, she gave me the look. So jump on that. And I went and I played, I gave her a little bit of a hard time, but I knew I was gonna get snacks and everything. So I did it, and that was the first time I made her proud. Second time was, just working with everybody and kids coming up to my window because I lived on the first floor. And my apartment, everybody, we just opened up the windows and play the music. And that told me, my records are good or not good. They were out there just dancing to it and had like, people from the building, from all the different buildings, like they would, come out periodically just to hear me do music.
Wow.
So that moment, that's the first time I said, yep, yep.
On I Wanna, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
The very first time. And, I just made that like the tag.
Yeah.
Everybody say their names now today. I do yep, yep, or, just sayings. And those were like my tags 'cause I didn't want else to say my name. You know, I didn't want to be a singer. I just wanted to be behind the music
Just wanted to make the
and
music.
hidden, just doing it, music for everybody. And after I Wanna, I took, we were mixing I Wanna, and Timmy Gatlin brings Aaron to the studio. So this is all
So yeah, I was gonna
a
ask
moment
the
going
connection
into the
of
next.
Timmy and Aaron and how did all this
Yeah.
happen? That's great.
So from kids at work, Timmy and I always stayed close. So when he had something, he would always bring it to me. And Aaron was one of those projects that, things that he wanted to work with me with. And they wanted me just to be the producer.
Wow.
And I said, bet. I don't got to do nothing. I just make y'all records. And then Aaron was like, nah, if he can't be in a group, I want to go solo.
Wow.
And that's how I got to be in Guy. And, I became the focal point and the focus point because of me doing all the music.
Right.
Timmy was as well because of his writing, but I always say if it wasn't for Timmy, if Timmy didn't introduce or bring Gene back in the fold, we would probably still be together today.
Wow.
Literally,
So you were away from Gene at this point
Yes.
when you were
Okay.
He
doing.
had just got out of prison.
Wow, you were away from Gene.
And I was actually doing my own thing with Keith, and if he didn't come into the picture, we probably went with maybe Keith's label, but I also had a publishing deal
So
already.
I want to talk
with
about Clyde
Samba.
Calder.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the same time. Cause
So how did the Clyde Calder thing come to play?
this is back in, I think, 84, 85. I was working in Battery Studios in London. They would actually, take us and we would go to London to work on all the Kumo D records. And when we did that, Clive was actually behind a glass like that, just checking me out, making How You Like Me Now on the spot.
Okay.
So I'm making this, and I keep seeing this shadow behind just a guy just dancing, like he's just shrugging his shoulders, like, and then he walks out and he called me my partner's name, LaVeba. And because LaVeba is the one who really facilitated putting all this together. And LaVeba, they had went to lunch. So I'm in the control room just banging out this beat. And they called me LaVeba and he said, I said, no, my name is not LaVeba. He said, so what is your name? I said, my name is Teddy Riley. He said, Teddy Riley? You know, he's from South Africa.
Exactly. I was about
Yeah,
to say,
100%.
And had the London, you know, UK accent. And he said, Teddy Riley, where you from? Are you the producer? You make the beats? I said, yes, I make the beats. So he's like, okay, excuse me for a minute.
we gotta
We
go
went
figure
up
this
to
out.
his office because he didn't know anything about me. And actually, the label, all of them didn't know anything about me neither. All they knew was I was with the crew and I needed to be on this trip, you know, because, you know, I was a part of the production. I guess what, you know, they had them believing. But when he talked to Aunt Carly, Barry Weiss, and all of them back then, he said, you guys come in the office, I want to talk to everybody. Who is Teddy Rowley? It's like, oh, he's one of the guys from the camp. What does he do? Oh, he's just with the camp. They didn't know how to produce all the beats.
Wow.
So he's like, okay, I'm not getting a clear answer. But when he comes back to the States, you guys better have a deal on the table.
Wow.
wow. Okay.
And Carly and all of them, they called me to that office after I came
Wow.
back from London. And they just sat me and was like, we want to give you a deal. Everything just sounds so good.
Wow.
And that's how I got my first publishing deal.
Wow.
How old were you at that point?
17, 18.
17, 18. Wow.
That's crazy.
17, okay, from Harlem to London.
To London.
And then back to
And
New
my mother-
York to
yeah.
sign his first.
My mother
publishing
was
deal.
real skeptical, like, why are you going all the way out to London? You can go to the studio downtown or somebody.
Yeah.
And then she trusted it. I said,
imagine.
Mom, I'm just making music. And
Was that your first time outside of Harlem?
Yeah. No,
Wow.
my first time out of the country.
Out of the country,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
You might as well say I was first time out of Harlem.
Yeah.
Yeah, go in there. Sorry. Let's go further back. Everybody, when I was young, wanted to manage me. Jimmy Castor, Larry Blackman, and Johnny Taylor. So Johnny Taylor was one of the people, and Kool and the Gang's managers.
What's my man? Who was what's his name? Was it Cool and the Gang's guy? He's still with them,
Yeah,
right?
Royal Band.
Royal Band.
But
Yes.
Royal Band
Yes.
never asked to manage me. He just took me around.
Yeah.
And he never really, pursued that. And I was wondering why all these guys, want to manage me and you never asked. He just took me to every studio and mentored me. So that was the first time I was out of New York was going to, with other people, not family. Family, we would go to Charleston, South Carolina. But that was like family. But I'm talking about just as far as music, my first time out of Harlem was going to meet Fats Domino's.
Wow.
And Johnny Taylor took me to meet him.
Wow.
And that's what made me say, man, I'm meeting the guy. My mother played your records and everything.
Wow.
And I'm just like, wow. So that was my first time really going for music.
Right.
And then after that was just London. Every year, like we would cut a new album. And
Yeah.
it was just like I was learning the culture out there. We actually stayed out in Lancaster Gates, not too far from the tower.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those things just gave me more inspiration to make, good music.
Man.
When we think about, so like the inspiration that you got in London, but, talking about being outside of Harlem, I did want to ask, how important was Harlem to the identity or like, the inspiration for the music that you were making? Like how big of a character was Harlem itself in the sound?
Really, really big. Trust me, I wouldn't have my, swag if I didn't get that part of my world. Because the other part of my world is Panamania. My family, my father's side. So knowing that and kind of putting the two together, I was already New Jack Swing,
Okay,
New
yeah.
Jack mixed up,
Yeah.
because that's where my rhythm came from. I was just mostly off and on.
Yeah.
And that's how, I was with making those records. I Wanna was basically, my first trial, like coming back into R&B, because it's hard getting right back into it when
Yeah.
you done made a ton of like hip hop beats.
Yeah.
You know?
And also interesting, man, you really, that I Wanna moment, you really cleared up a lot, because I always wanted to know where was the introduction, there was a space where Gene wasn't there, and then where did the reintroduction happens to Timmy. How does Uptown happen?
Andre Harrell.
Nah, okay, let's get
You know
into that.
Andre,
It's
yeah.
all the same time.
Okay.
So around the same time, when I could have went straight to
Trey.
Dre,
Yeah.
because I was already working on Heavy D and
Yeah.
Groupie Chill down in Chungking. So
And you would see
I
him
was
out
going
in the
from one
early days
studio to
performing
another
himself.
to Power Play.
And you pretty much produced Heavy's first album, the whole thing for the most part, right?
Well, no, I got to give credit to Eddie F.
ADF, okay.
and Cal West and Pete Rock and the whole crew. I was just the guy that was the finisher, really.
Okay.
Like Dre would be like, "Yo, get it to Teddy. We gotta see what he gonna do to it."
Yeah.
And, I would do interesting things because we didn't have automation. So I would have you there, I'm there, and I was the first with the drops.
Yeah, yes.
So the drops had to be 5 people or 4 people on the board, just like, yo,
Yeah.
I'm gonna count it in. And Dre used to always participate. He's like, yo, I just want to be a part of this. It's like, this is history. And, Dre was always into the future. And he was the one who inspired me to call my studio the future.
Wow.
Because he was always there. He was like 2 steps ahead. He was the visionary. And we would be there just like on Heavy D records and all of those records. And then we started doing it with I'll Be Sure,
Yeah.
Off on Your Own, and those records. And I was just that guy that came in and just add my sauce.
Wow.
So that's how I became a part of all of that, because after making the Heavy D records and doing what I was doing, like Is It Good to You and all of those records, that was my way, of being close and getting close with Andre, becoming like that Quincy Jones of
Yeah.
Uptown, and then I've always like at the same time doing that, I was mentoring, like giving Eddie and all of those guys
Yeah.
sounds and everything at the same time. So I felt like this was like my home.
Yeah.
So when Timmy and I got together about Guy, he's like, yo, Gene just got out of prison. I said, yeah. It's like, you been in touch with him? He says, yeah, I talked to him, man. He's staying here. He's in New York. I said, all right, we can go see him. And then when I went to go see him, he did make me feel comfortable. It was like the whole focal was, his focus was on me.
Yeah.
And then, we went down to D.C. to actually live with him and stay with him, putting together the idea. I guess he didn't want us out of his sight because he felt like we would have went with somebody else if he
Yeah.
wasn't, in our sight and in our presence. So he held on to us, and we got contracts signed and all of that stuff. And because Dre wanted to sign us without him.
Okay.
And just so happened he kind of intervened, and Timmy wanted him there. And then next thing you know, we're working on this damn album, and this guy, they got into it.
Timmy got into it.
Yeah. And he was calling a shot. Like, I think we were working on You Can Call Me Crazy.
Wow.
And we worked on You Can Call Me Crazy, and I told Timmy, I guess critiquing him and telling him you're kind of off. And, Timmy, back then, his ego was like powerful. It was like, yo, how you gonna tell me I'm off and da-da-da? And it just, next thing you know, Gene calls him out. He's like, man, why you talking to him like that and da? Next thing you know, Timmy comes back in the room. He's like, yo, man, peace, man, I'm out.
And he's gone.
Gone. Now we didn't get a second verse. So Second verse
That's
is
why
on
I'll be
there,
sure.
right?
Is that why I'll be sure is there?
There you go.
That's why I'll be sure is
So
there.
I'll be sure it's there because Gene was like, he was upset with Andre Harrell at some point, and they got into it, which kind of made me feel like, yo, this is not the place for me.
Yeah.
I got to get away from Gene. So when they got into it and some things happened to where he kind of took advantage of Andre, physically, that's when I planned my leave, That happened around 88, late 88, 89. And we were already into the deal, but the whole thing was over. The Uptown Records logo was bigger than the GR production. So Gene was, his ego was like crazy about that. He was like, man, I told you to make it side to side or make it somewhere where it's bigger. And they got into it. It was like, wow, it's not where I want to be. It was like almost dealing with like Dirty Red.
Yeah, yeah, but you're Big Red from
Big Red.
Big
Big
Red.
You know what's so interesting though? We hear about a lot what was happening during that era, but I look at your productivity during that era, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about really a 2-year, 3-year period. But you're saying 87, 88, 89, and that productivity is like Rexon Effect, Zan, Redhead Kingpin, Today. You know what I mean? It's like all these records, but you did Bobby's album.
Yeah.
You did like all these records are just like back to back in the middle of like this storm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Boy George,
Yep.
James Ingram, like all these records are happening in the middle of this storm. And my question is, I guess the music is always an escape, right? Creating is always our happy place. You know what I mean?
I didn't let it distract me. I had to keep going because, for everything that I was doing, I was making 10 grand.
That's it. 10,000 a record.
10,000 a record, and I was actually making more than 10,000, making 150 and better.
Of course.
And all he would give me was 10 grand.
And GR
And,
Productions
anything-
was your company too, supposedly.
Yeah, I was the
Griffin
R and the
Riley.
G, Griffin and Riley, and I didn't know a lot of this stuff until one of his people just pulled me to the side, and that was Kim Frank, who was my road manager, and we got really close. And I guess Gene, pissed him off, and Gene was paying him pennies, and he was just pissed from that, and then he just started gathering all the paperwork and getting it to me, and making me sit down with him, reading it. This is what you're getting. This is what you're really getting. I did Boy George. That was the first time I knew after I made $1 million in a week
Wow.
off those songs.
And how much of it did you see?
10 grand.
10.
So
10 grand per song.
And this is just important because I want people who are in this business, who starting this business, to have a clear understanding like how important it is. I always tell people, read your contracts even if you don't understand it, right? If you have access, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, you didn't have access to the
I
contracts.
didn't have access. I didn't know
after
what
the fact.
Yeah. All I wanted was to be with someone who can actually mentor me and take my career to another level. And now, I have to say this, because if it wasn't for Gene Griffin, I probably wouldn't know you too. So I still give him credit.
Of course.
So credit is due. He did a lot for me, and he always protected me. Other than what he did. I guess his protection was like, all right, I'm just going to go out one side, but I'm not going to let nobody else touch him.
Right.
So saying that, I still give him the credit. And at the end, of the day, in my book, I wrote about forgiveness.
That's the key.
And I forgave him, and we got back together, and it was not only for me, but my daughter, he was like a grandfather to my oldest daughter, Deja. And when we got back together, he was kind of slowing down.
Yeah.
Had dementia, and he was put into a home. And that's when I moved back out here to Atlanta. And I'm the only one who actually took him out of the home and brought him to my rehearsal. And even before that, he would drive down, and this is how we knew he had dementia, was he drove down, he came down with his nephew. And coming down, he would always stop to see me before he goes to D.C. He would come to Virginia. And he came to my home and everything. And that was like, I'd say a good 3 to 4 months that I've seen him. And one particular time when he was coming down, he brought his nephew. And they stopped in, I think, Greenville or Raleigh. And he left his nephew at the gas station and ended up asleep in Charlotte at a gas station.
Wow.
Police knocked on his window and said, sir, do you know where you are? He said, yeah, I'm in Raleigh. He said, sir, step out of the car. He got out of the car and he had his phone, he had everything. He said, sir, you are in Charlotte. Is everything okay? Do you have a phone or a number that we can call because someone's going to need to get you? We can't let you leave like this. So in his phone book, because he never put his phones in a phone,
In the phone book.
he put it always on a phone, like a little pad. He was very, how you say, traditional, very throwback when it came to that. So he had, the first number he had on it was my number.
Wow.
And he would, the police had called me first.
Wow.
And I told him, you got to call this number. It was his wife, Donna. And they called her and they got him. And then she called me to let me know what was going on. I said, I'm coming down. And this was like, we had at least a month or two together, without me figuring that out because I couldn't recognize it. But, after a little while, I realized he kept saying a lot of the same things, like he never said it. That's what told me, okay, I had to understand what's Alzheimer's, what's dementia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did, I said, yeah, that's what he had.
Man.
How important was that? And we'll move on, but I think you touched on something really interesting because, and people need to hear it to, that forgiveness and that reconciliation with him before he passed, like that's amazing to me, but it's humbling because, we all have stories about being taken advantage of in the business, right? And then just human nature, like, bro, I made millions and saw 10 grand a pop. Like, you really took advantage of me. But to have the heart to, say that, what, forgiveness and reconciliation is way more important
It was
than
for
trying to hang on to that history of you did me wrong.
it was for him and I because he was like a father figure to me.
Yeah.
And I can't say that I lost anything because I'm still here today. So I feel like forgiveness gives you life because if you sit on it, it's gonna hold you back. It's gonna eat you up.
Yeah.
So you got to get past it and let it go. You don't have to work with that person. But him and I felt like at that moment in time, I had to be back in his life because it gave him more life.
Wow.
When he was in that home, it really gave him more life when I pulled up on him.
Wow.
And then took him out of the home because no one would take him out of the home. I asked the nurses and they were like, have anybody ever taken him out of here? It's like, no, sir.
Wow.
I said, is it okay if I can take him with me or I can have a car come and pick him up, a sprinter or a driver? And they was like, sure.
Wow.
I said, can it be tonight? He's like, sure.
Yeah.
So we took him out. We brought him to SAP.
Okay, boom.
I brought him to SAP.
Nice.
And I did a whole guy set.
Love it.
Performed it for him. It was no Aaron and Damien because they wasn't there. So I did those sets with Blackstreet, you know, as my little part, you know, when I go off into doing a Teddy Riley set. So I did Guy, and this is the one time that his memory came all the way back. And
Getting the music, man.
but I'm talking to him as if I'm like, you know who that is? He said, yeah, that's my son. I said, who that? He said, Teddy. That's Midas. He would call me Midas, like the Midas
Midas
touch.
touch.
Everything you touch.
So, I said, yeah, that's Teddy. I'm in front of him.
Wow. So we said that's so crazy how the music, it's still fragmented, it's still separate. He's still viewing you like in a third person,
Yes.
like as his youngin still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's crazy, man. I'm just really grateful that you guys were able to work it out.
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I'm very grateful for it, and I still say it today. You know, if it wasn't for him, you know, I don't think anyone here would even know me.
Man, hey, let me tell you something, man. I'm really glad that I know you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Same here.
Now,
And the world knows you.
I want to shift because I know that there's so many big moments in your life, but I got to ask you a question, and because I've always wanted to know if these two moments were connected. So you produced the Jacksons, 2300 Jackson Street,
Yes, sir.
and then of course a couple years later you ended up doing Michael.
Yep.
Was there a connection? You know, there's always a riff in the Jacksons, you know, family, like, you know, Michael always taking off, you know, like, you know, like I got LA and Kenny first, and then my, you know, it's the
Right.
brotherly riff thing. What is the story there? Was there a connection from the Jacksons to the Michael project, or are these two separate things?
No, it's two separate things. In fact, the Jackson had, I think, their own management, and the family actually got together because it was the whole family song.
Okay.
But you know, in that moment, I never seen Michael.
Well, you did the
When I
Jacksons.
did 2300 Jackson Street,
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
I never seen Michael. And when they did it, they got the vocals from him. I guess they didn't want me to be around him, like Gene Griffin.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this story. No, seriously.
No, for real. That's Jay.
Do you know Gene was the reason why I didn't get to be on the Bad album?
I heard that story.
Yeah.
I heard that story. I heard
And-
Quincy was looking for you.
That's why I said what I said. You know, maybe the Jacksons didn't want me to be around him neither, because
Yeah.
it's been like, yo, this is a Michael project.
Yeah.
You know, but Michael wouldn't have gotten on that song if he didn't like it. So him being on that song was amazing. And to say myself that I got to produce the whole family is like, wow, it's an honor.
Yeah.
So when it came out, I was like, people were like, just like impressed with what I did for them. This is how, you know, what type of song can you make for the Jacksons all together? And just remind me so much of what Michael did with We Are the World.
Yeah.
And all he did was just apply that same formula and had everybody sing a part.
Wow.
So it was a fun song.
Wow. So let's talk about Dangerous, man. Like, I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, I remember Guy was on Video Soul. You guys might have, I think you're promoting Future.
Mm-hmm.
And Johnny asked you what you was doing, what you working on. You called out a laundry list of things he was working on. He said, well, I'm in the studio with Michael Jackson.
And by this point, the new Jack Swing is solidified. This is the sound. This is the genre. This is
we're
like
off to the races now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're off to the races.
This is the new Jack Swing.
And I remember being so excited to hear the possibility of it. You know what I mean? Like while watching the video, while watching the interview, being like, that's gonna sound crazy. And I remember, you know, time went by and then the first single comes out, it's Black or White, and I'm like, what is this single? Oh, no, it's not the Teddy single. You know? Like,
Well, I was part of Black and White
Really?
as well.
get out of here.
Is that right?
Yeah. 'Cause
Okay.
Michael,
Explain this. Yeah, I know this.
well, before Michael, let me tell you how it came about, because that was the time of the breakup of Gene and I.
Okay.
Okay.
So after that, when Gene and I kind of broke up, then I actually broke up with Guy. So I left Guy. We did our last show at Madison Square Garden. That was the same time that Michael Jackson called me. So I had already went to go, I talked to Quincy because he heard, you know, I'm free.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm going to put you with somebody. You're going to go see them this weekend, and you're going to be in good hands. And that was the Black Godfather.
Clarence Avant.
Clarence Avant.
His best friend, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
Q and Clarence,
Legend.
boy.
Yeah,
When he put
absolutely.
me with him, you know, Clarence had kind of saved me from a lot of the things that went on in the music industry.
Wow.
You know, and for some reason, he was never around me, but he would just like navigate, you know, things.
Wow.
So I'm talking to Clarence, and one thing he wanted to find out was, you know, what are my goals and things that I want to do, who I want to work with. And I really had no answers for him. All I wanted to do was just do more music and work with anybody. And we talked, and this is the first time I ever had a meeting longer than 5 hours.
Wow.
And we sat at his house, and we became like nephew and uncle since that day. Every time I came to LA, he would either be at the Four Seasons or he would be at the Beverly Wilshire.
Yeah.
So from that day forth, he said, man, I'm going to have somebody, they're going to be calling you. You know how Clarence is. You got a hot head. You know,
Oh, yeah,
he'll
believe
curse you
it.
out in 2 seconds.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I got a cursing out, you know. Afterwards. He was like, you're going to get a call.
Yeah.
And you stay put for that call because it's going to be a very important call. And I didn't want, you know, I was reluctant of asking him who's going to be calling, but I picked up the heart and asked him, and he said, motherfucker, I told you to get back home. No, get your ass back home.
That's Clarence. That's Clarence Avant.
And sit there for the call.
Yeah.
Then I'll call you. Don't worry about who calling.
Don't worry about who calling.
Everybody would call. You just be there
So
for the call.
I got home, and this was around the same time I got with Keith because he wanted me to remix Make You Sweat.
Yeah.
So all of this is going on, and I'm in the studio.
Were you doing
that I
the
booked out.
Chain Child remix too in this period?
All this at the same time. I booked out all the studios, and there was no studio left but Q-Tip's production room. So I'm remixing Don't Wanna Fall in Love. I'm remixing Make You Sweat, and I'm remixing Why You Wanna Dog Me Out. All at the same time.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm knocking these remixes out, and I'm so inspired. When I got the call from Michael, we're sitting in that studio, and my manager at the time, you know, had answered the phone. And when he answered the phone, it was Sandy Gallen, Michael's manager at the time. And they were conversing back and forth. He said, Michael wants to talk to Mr. Alley. He said, well, I'll put him on. I want to see if it's him. He put him on the phone, and, you know, he was like, is this him? It's him. And, you know, I've seen now so many people who have been turned into another person when they meet Michael.
Yeah.
Sissy, you know, it's like, yo, you just turn like into a girl.
Yeah.
Because he went like,
It's Michael Jackson.
I said, give me the damn phone. So Harvey gave me the phone, and I talked to Michael, and he's like, you know, Teddy? I said, Michael, this is you. I said, yeah. He said, your voice is a little deep. I said, your voice is high. No, but he was just so like, you know, funny at the same time. And he asked, was I in California? And I said, no, I'm not in California. He said, oh, I thought you was here. So I felt like he pulled the phone and said, oh, he was here. And then he got back on the phone. He said, so, can you be here tomorrow? And I said, am I coming to work with you? He said, yes, we're going to get right to work. I said, I'm going to need some time. I need some time. I can't come right now. Can I get about 2 weeks? He said, no problem. I'm going to be ready for you. And can I tell you my favorite song? I was like, what's your favorite song? He said, well, my favorite songs. I like your group, Guy. Spend the Night was one of my favorites. I love the drive of that song. It's so funky.
Wow.
And I said, wow. He said, and the song grooved me. And I guess he was saying,
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
give me the history, like I know
I
your
know
work.
who you are.
Right, yeah.
And
Yeah.
when he said that, I said, got it. He said, so when you make whatever you're gonna make, just think of those. I want to really I want to just hit them hard. I want to shock the world. I'm like, let's do this.
Wow.
So I'm trying to figure out how am I gonna maneuver doing these remixes because I had 3 engineers. And I had my keyboard tech who designed my whole rack system. And I want to give it to y'all. So if y'all want to show some of this stuff, and I will give y'all a picture with me and the Jacksons.
Okay.
While working on 2300 Jackson
Bet,
Street, my
bet.
first time meeting Janet.
Oh, nice.
When she was young. So I got a picture of her and me sitting there like scared as heck.
Was Joe Jackson there?
No.
Okay.
He was no ways around. They brought Janet and the brothers were there. And I think Reby was there.
Okay.
Reby was there. And LaToya, I think. So I'll give y'all that picture so you can show it.
Great.
No, please. That's amazing.
And whatever pictures y'all need.
Bet.
So y'all can go back and forth to it if y'all want to add it a part of your content.
Side note, there's some YouTube footage I was asking you about of you actually in the studio.
I got that footage.
Okay.
So I want to give that to you.
Right.
We could transfer it from a thumb drive, and
Thank you.
I can give it to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I'll put it in a Dropbox and I'll just send it to you because I think it's back at the hotel. But with that being said, I asked Q-Tip for his production room, and that joint was about the size of that room.
About the size of that room?
Yeah. So I had like 4 racks. I was like, and I had like 4 different systems. So I still had to have the stuff in the remix room. So I bought a whole new system. So I'm about to work with Mike Jackson.
I'm pulling it out. I'm pulling all the big guns.
I was like in candy store. I need 3 MPs.
Yeah.
I need 2 S3000s, and I had all. And I bought a 770.
Oh, yeah.
The S770 is where I had all the hits, all of the orchestra hits, and the big claps and all of that stuff. And so I'm doing my setup, and I asked Q-Tip, could I use his room? I would pay his rent this month and the next month. I'm working on a very important project. And he's like, what you working on? I said, man, I can't even tell you.
I can't even tell you.
I can't tell you.
About it.
And that's where I got the non-disclosure. From them. That's when I knew things were serious.
Yeah, but it's an NDA. It's real.
NDA was thick, man. It was thick. So, Army Ho signed that. So I couldn't talk to him, so he gave me the room.
Wow.
First track I did was Remember the Time.
That is crazy.
So I was like, oh man, this is, and I had no one to actually play it for. But people would listen outside of the room. And one day, almost at the end of my time in that room, Q-Tip came back. And I said, man, if I tell you something, man, just don't say nothing. But you need to know this because if, you're available to be a part of it, would love to have you. So I told him it's Michael Jackson. He just blew his mind.
Of course.
And that was around the same week. I had rehearsal with Guy, auditioning some singers for Guy on a Wednesday, same day as Damien Hall's birthday.
Wow.
So he had a birthday party that day. I knew I wasn't going because I'm on Michael. So I'm up here working on Michael, and it's the same time I hired Joe Hayward as my drummer. So it's all going on. It's crazy synergy, and Khadijah and all of
Yeah.
what's my background singers, and Josie, Michelle, and
We're dancing.
all of them were my dancers. Les,
yeah.
Big Les, they were all our dancers. So we were rehearsing for Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
So I had 2 days before I can get in the studio, work on Michael's stuff, finish up Make You Sweat, Don't Want to Fall in Love was kind of held back because I had to get Jane Child there. Finally got her there for a couple of days. I'm like a doctor going into one studio
What
to
studio
another.
were you working at? Was it Soundtracks?
No, yeah, with Soundtrack.
Soundtracks.
21st Street.
Yeah.
So doing that, first track, Remember the Time. Second track was Blood on the Dance Floor. Either Blood on the Dance Floor or Joy.
Wow.
But when I was making Blood on the Dance Floor that same day, which was that Wednesday, Damian Hall's birthday party, this is crazy how you cannot make this up. And this is a true story. When I was making that record, was the same day Damian Hall, bodyguard, got shot on the dance floor.
Get out of here.
But it wasn't called Blood on the Dance Floor until 3 weeks later when we were playing the demos. And Michael Jackson, when I played it for him, and you heard the beginning, so stop. This is the moment I thought I was gonna get fired because I was like, yo, maybe he don't like it. He stopped.
Yeah.
He said, start it from the beginning again. His mind was just going, what could I do to this? I can read him. It's like he started moonwalking and doing everything behind the board. And that told me, okay, because when he first started listening, he gave me the demo face. You know how you just sit back and like,
Yeah.
nice. Next track.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, Blood on the Dance Floor, when he stopped the second time, he said, I got it. He started singing the hook behind the board. Blood on the dance floor. Because that's the way the record started. Blood on the dance floor. He was back there singing that. Then he said, stop. I got a title. We're going to call this Blood on the Dance Floor.
Wow.
I was damn near in tears.
Wow, bro.
I said, can I tell you something? He said, sure. I said, when I was making this track, I canceled going to a party, which was one of the group members of Guy. He said, why? I said, because I was working on your music. And of course, when I was working on this same track. And one of the group members' bodyguard got shot on the dance floor. And you naming this song now, Blood on the Dance Floor, is just surreal.
That's
and
crazy.
blowing me away.
And the fact that you didn't say that anything to him, you just played the track.
I just played the track.
And that's
we
what
had
you
no
got for the
title.
track.
The only song that I had a hook for was Remember the Time.
That's it.
That's it.
Wow.
I was just playing them tracks. I played them Joy 3. And I just started just running tracks after that. She Drives Me Wild. I had like a skeleton.
Yeah.
And then he would bring me to the room and he made the actual drum beat for Jam.
He actually
Yeah, on the MP.
Yeah. Wow.
He's like, can you come to my room? You know, Brad, who I just saw, Brad.
Yeah.
I wish I had the pictures, but I'm gonna get you the pictures.
You know, what are you gonna do?
Is this job's gone? What are you gonna do, Brad?
Brad, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Brad has been his long time MD.
Yo, long time,
MD,
long time.
Yeah.
And Brad, I saw yesterday in McDonough at my book signing.
Get out of here. Brad lives here?
Yeah, no, he lives in Orlando, but he came here.
Get out of here.
And surprised me. I was like, man, almost in tears seeing him because
Didn't Bruce live in Orlando before he passed away?
Yep.
Too? Bruce Whitney lived
Before he passed away. Actually, I think they were together because now what Brad is doing, he's building houses.
Really?
He's building houses. So when I seen him yesterday, he knew the whole story. So he handed me the thumb drives, even the thumb drives of the recordings of the animals and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
He gave me that thumb drive. And
Wow.
The lions, the tigers, just the whole natural, the birds and all Michael's animals.
Yeah.
So that's what happened when we did Blood on the Dance Floor. He named it that, and And we kept going, and when he heard Joy, his hand just went across his heart. He's like, oh, it's so great, these chords. But going back to, remember the time, the first chord, that first chord, he wanted to know what that chord was. That was my first time, heart beating fast, like he wanted to talk to me. And we went to his dressing room, and we sat there and we talked. He said, what is that first chord that you're playing on the first track you played? And I said, I don't know. I don't know. He said, you play by ear, right? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, I can tell. I can tell that everything came from here.
Wow.
And I said, yeah. I've never read music or anything, and I couldn't spell out chords. I can spell out the simple chords,
Yeah.
A flat, A7, that type of stuff. But as far as the augmented chords and the 13s and the nines, and I never knew how to call those out until I just said, you know what, you need to do your homework, bro. Because the next person asks you that, they may not be the same.
Exactly.
It's like, you don't know your chords, yo?
Yeah, trust me. I know. Yeah.
Wow.
So I said I couldn't spell it out. He said, that chord was never played in any of my music.
She's right.
In my whole career, I never heard a chord like that.
Wow.
I said, yo, you cool? You want me to change it? He said, no, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Like, this all goes towards us making history here.
How did it feel? I mean, I can only imagine, bro. Like having that record come out and it blows, it just explodes. The video is star-studded. You know what I mean? Like what is that? Like, how does that feel?
Well, that was a time where I got pretty busy with Bobby Brown, so I
But
wasn't
it's
able to
the
make
Bobby album.
the Bobby album. So I couldn't make it to the video shoot. And of course, Bobby was like, yeah, I got Whitney here, we got to finish up and that type. So that day I couldn't make it, but he called me. He said, we doing it, he called me Theodore.
Yeah.
We doing it, Theodore. It's about to come out now. And then it was around my birthday.
Wow.
He said, did you get a package? I said, a package? He said, yeah, go to your door. It's my birthday. It was the 20 million plaque.
Wow.
Not even 60 days, we went 20 plaque.
20 million in 3 months. Talk about some. Boy, Michael Jackson, boy.
So,
Michael Jackson.
just that plaque alone.
20 million in 3 months is crazy.
I'll send you a picture and y'all can put it up for content.
Yeah.
But when I seen that, it was a birthday present. I was like, wow, what a birthday present.
I'll say.
I didn't know what to do with it because I was now living in East Rutherford because we had moved to the projects, back to the projects after leaving Gene for a little while.
Okay.
And then we moved up to, no, it wasn't East Rutherford. I moved in Biggie and Faith's old condo with the elevator that goes straight to the bedroom.
Yeah.
And I was so fascinated by it, I wanted to move in there, but I didn't want to keep it.
Yeah.
So I wound up moving over to where Keith Sweat lived, East Rutherford. And that was around the same time, him and I got really close and, we just started, I was doing like shows with him and just doing everything I could before I got to Michael. And then when I got to Michael, it was just like, I ain't seen a lot of people after that.
So around this time, right, we start seeing you kind of branch out as a solo too, like you did the Is It Good to You thing with Tammy Lucas, right?
Yeah.
Blackstreet. The first time I even remember seeing Blackstreet, CB4 soundtrack.
Yeah.
Baby Be Mine. This is
With
the OG.
R.I.P. Joe Stone Street. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Around New York City singing.
Of course.
Yeah.
We would see him around. That was, the Chaz and Wilson's days. And,
So what attracted, you to want to do Blackstreet, especially in that period? Because I felt like after Guy, it was like a proper break, as far as groups were concerned, and you was just killing them on the production. You was, Had you already moved to Virginia?
Yeah.
So you were killing them with the production, and then this concept comes up on the CB4 soundtrack, which I thought was only going to be a one and
off.
done thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is a single.
Is that what you thought as
I
well?
thought that as well
Blackstreet featuring
because
Teddy Riley.
we,
Yeah.
MCA, didn't, make an offer, at that moment in time.
Yeah.
They were so on Guy and the Future album.
Yeah.
And then I was working with Rex and Effect.
Yeah.
So they were working all of those at the same time. And Ernie Singleton called me and said,
Ernie
Wow.
Singleton.
I need a record for this soundtrack, this CB4 soundtrack. I said, can you send me something so I know what I can write, for the film? So he sent me a little clip, and sent the little clip, and I watched it, and it was actually the part where, you seen Chris Rock with the gold teeth, and, coming out. I was like, I don't know what to make for this. He said, well, I just sent you that clip so you could see what it's about. But your scene and Baby Be Mine will be probably the closing track. I said, okay, that's better, because I don't know what to make to that.
Right.
But I'm going to do this over here. And me and Ty Fife
Ty Five.
and Joseph Stone Street, we sitting there, and Ty Fife just like came up with this. But it wasn't the what was that the Public Enemy. It was the horns going.
Yeah.
So next thing you know, I was like, okay, give me that. So I started putting my James Brown drums.
Yeah.
And just built that, and then here comes Joseph Stone Street. I said, what you would put to this? He's like, I got it. Now's the time and here's the place. And it was just it from there. And I said, let's finish it. Y'all go ahead and write it. I'm going to finish it up here. And of course, I had to get a bridge or something to put on there. Just kind of. So I made the bridge to Girl, You Got It Going On. And just kind of put it together to get it to them quick. And when we got it to them, they was like, man, this is fantastic. We're going to use this. They wound up using it, and we still wasn't fine. But let me tell you how it came about, because how we even thought about the idea of just doing a group was Chauncey had said to me after he was doing all the demos for the Bobby
Brown
album.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he did all the demos.
I knew that.
I told him, keep it in his range, let's not go too high. Let him want to do that himself, and let's keep it here. So all of the demos was coming out nice, like really, like nice. So I was like, man, you singing all these demos? Because before that, he was the one, him and Eric was auditioning for Guy that Wednesday. And I said, they can't sing. And I said, I don't mean they can't sing. They can sing, but they didn't have the voice like Aaron to give me those background parts.
Yeah.
Like Aaron with the high voice on Where's Your Love? Because that's like our intro, to our show. So fast forward back to, I'm telling Chauncey, you are singing these demos right, man. And then some time went past, and he came next day or 2 days later and said, I got an idea. I said, what's your idea? He said, I think you should create another group. I was like, me create another group? I said, yeah, well, you can create it. Find the guys. And this was before Joseph Stone Street. You find the guys, and we'll put it together. So he found Levi.
Wow.
I said, well, we need a hot singer. So Levi became the high singer. And I said, you know, there's a guy that I met in California that Harvey introduced me to. And, you know, we have to give him an image because when I first met him, Joe Stone Street was wearing shoes with tube socks, sweatpants like this,
Yeah.
a trench coat with the Jimmy Jam and Cherry Lewis hat. And he always wore shades. I was like, man, take off your shades. I want to see what your eyes look like so I know what to do because we got to kind of upgrade you with the glasses too. So he took off his glasses and he has one, you know, lazy eye.
Yeah.
And I said, we're going to fix that. He said, you sure, man? You think I'm going to work for this? I said, you already work. You know, you already fit the part because it's the sound I'm for. I can fix the image.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we did.
Wow.
Kind of got, you know, some people, you know, got us a fashion person and came up. Actually, we started looking like Rex and Effect for a while because, you know, with the hats.
The hats, yeah.
So I did that with Blackstreet, and then we had to change Rex and Effect, you know, their style.
Yeah.
And then we wound up just not doing that, period. And we came into wearing Carcanal and cross colors,
Yes.
that type of stuff, and FUBU.
And you
And,
guys, see, I'm tripping that you guys didn't have a deal when that.
We
yeah, they
didn't. And then that's when I started hanging tough in California with Uncle Mike Conception.
Yeah.
And he said, man, I got something I want to talk to you about. Would you mind if I indulge in a project that, you know, could be potentially a lot of money for you? You don't mind me, you know, helping you with this? And I said, nah, I don't mind. So he was talking to Jimmy Iovine
Wow.
and John McClain. And they wanted me. They wanted to bring me over to open up the R&B division of Interscope. I was the R&B, Dre was the rap.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, my Conception made a deal with them saying, I bet you I can get Teddy Riley. And Jimmy was like, no chance. He's over there with Al Taylor.
No chance.
No chance. I don't think so. He said, okay.
Because you were still an MCA. You were still.
Yeah, I was still,
Yeah,
I
I'll
had
tell
an
you.
exclusive,
Yeah.
huge deal.
Wow.
So he said, watch. He said, if you do this, I would pay you a monthly stipend and this. And me and Jimmy was talking about it 3 weeks ago. He said, man, I was giving this guy $5,000 a month. I was like, no, a week or something like that.
Wow.
I said, you serious, Jimmy? He said, yeah. So I knew, you know, he was paying. But here's the thing about my Conception. He never took a commission from me.
Wow.
He got his commission like a, you know, like a broker, you know, on top.
But that was it.
That's what made me say, okay, here's a guy that, you know, I can trust.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, we put together the Blackstreet Project, and he went to go talk to Al Taylor, and I think Zach Hollett, and that's how I got out of MCA. And they all were, how you say, golfers, and, you know, they come together at the country club. So they all knew about the merger.
So it was coming anyway.
It was coming anyway.
Okay.
The Interscope, MCA, Geffen.
Exactly. Yeah. So them knowing that, it was easy for me to transition over, and they gave them a couple of points override.
Of course.
And I can, you know, continue my career over at Interscope.
So we spoke about Joe Stone Street, and he was on one song.
Yeah.
Yep.
We get Blackstreet album. It's a new face.
Dave Hollister.
The great David Hollister.
The great Dave Hollister.
Is my dog, right?
Absolutely.
And I kind of feel like we got a sound upgrade. Like I kind of feel like, you know what I'm saying? I kind of feel like what you ended up doing on the Blackstreet first album was something that was very different from Guy.
Oh, yeah.
It
was range.
Yeah, yes.
Lots of range.
Very different. I mean, like, and super musical at point. Like some points of the album, it gets real. And you were kind of introducing new the way that you guys were flipping samples, the kind of samples, like the fact, like taking the Bon Bon V, like
Yeah.
that, like you were taking some real risk with samples that a lot of people wasn't touching. You know
True,
what I'm saying?
true.
And first single, Booty Call, produced by you and Eric Sermon's on that record with
Yes,
you
he
also,
did.
right?
Eric Sermon came in, and this is the first time Eric Sermon and I really had an experience of, who's the sample king. And he won.
He won.
He won. He won because, my samples wasn't hitting. This dude hit a sample of mine and played it for me in my face, and I still couldn't detect what he sampled of mine
Wow. Of yours.
until he stripped it down.
Wow. Okay.
And it was Teddy's Jam, and it was a part in Teddy's Jam that he used. Oh, she bad now, Brap. She bad now. And he just kept running that, and it was under everything. It was like this funky beat, just like I didn't hear She Bad until he stripped it down. Whatever he had in it, I didn't hear it until he stripped it down.
Wow.
He's the best with samples I've ever known. I thought it was Marley Marl, who's amazing with samples, but back then, he was the one. If I needed to hide something, he knows how to hide it.
It's so interesting. I think about that album and how many, you had so many different flavors on that album. You had the legend, Leon Silvers,
Yep.
who co-wrote Before I Let You Go.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, you collaborated on a couple of songs on an album with you guys.
I had signed him at the same time I signed Joe Stone Street. They were actually close. And Leon just gave me everything I needed, He's one of the greatest writers.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I always told people that Before I Let Go always gave me like a Shalimar vibe.
Yeah,
Like a
or
like,
Whispers.
Or Whispers, but like an actual, like the way that the vocals are stacked, the way it just gave me that, that thing. So you have legends, and then you have up and comers who, you had a whole team. Of course, we mentioned Top 5, Sprague Doogie. You had some people in there.
We had Karen Anderson.
Yep.
We had her, and
Yeah, of course, Tammy was with you guys.
Tammy Lucas was definitely with us.
And then we
wrote
talked about Pharrell and
Pharrell.
Chad.
Tonight's the
Okay.
Night.
Yeah, Pharrell
with
and
Pharrell
Chad.
and those guys.
And that's interesting because, I can only imagine being in Virginia and hearing that Teddy Riley moved to the city.
And so I have the
Virginia
question,
Beach.
why Virginia Beach? Because prior to you moving there, the only thing I knew about Virginia Beach is that's the other city that the SEALs hang out in. Like you have Coronado, California,
Yeah.
and you have Virginia Beach, Virginia. That's the only thing I knew about Virginia Beach.
Well, Virginia Beach was a place that you guys seen Paid in Full.
Okay, yep.
Okay, Alpha and those guys, I grew up with them.
Word.
I was in the
Wow.
same class. Some of my classes were with Rich Porter. So we all kind of grew up together, and we used to always do like fun stuff like charter bus. So everybody had a little money, and we would pitch in charter bus and go to Virginia Beach for spring break. So we would go there for Six Flags, just be on the beach. And, I had said to my fiance at that time, if I was to move anywhere, it would be here because it's in between New York and South Carolina, where my mom and my family is really from, Charleston. And I wound up just doing it,
Wow.
And, I was dealing with some things in New York that I had to get away from that would have brought me back to the streets. So,
Fair enough.
With that being said, I just moved, and then I started moving all my family, everybody down there. I was just like, here, this is for your new place.
Yeah.
This is for you. Get a car too, that type of stuff. So that's what I did, and I kind of made it what I wanted,
Wow.
I needed to have a picnic. I had family,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I actually started networking because the only thing that was there, and artist that was there, was Jimmy Buffett.
Oh.
So I started making relationships with like the stations there, the black stations, the pop stations, and in fact, a couple of friends of my kids that went to high school with my daughter, and I got him his first job When I made,
Wow.
friends with all of the stations and newspapers and all of that,
Hmm.
I built relationships to create jobs for others.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was very successful. And, I became a hero to a lot of people there, but I was never noticed by or recognized by the city. It was the people. And that's all
Wow.
that counted for me
Right.
because, of course, you want to be loved by your city, city you move in.
Yeah.
And then when I started doing talent shows, that was like, wow, hey, he's going in.
Yeah.
He's trying to put this city on the map. And that's all I was trying to do, was just take a challenge. That was a big challenge for me.
Just imagine like
Yeah.
the level of inspiration. I mean, granted, we see it. Pharrell
Yeah.
and Chad are, Pharrell is Pharrell. You
Right.
know, Timbaland is Timbaland. These kids, these are kids who are direct beneficiaries of Teddy moving to.
Well, Timbaland didn't come through me,
Mm.
but Timbaland used to come to the studio. Everybody would come to the studio. Danger, Pharrell, and them when I signed them.
Mm.
Who else? Bank.
Bank. Yeah.
Yeah, Bank, and Knots came a few times, and
Wow.
just everybody. Everybody was just trying to figure out a way to get in the building,
Yeah.
and they thought it was off limits. And the moment they tried, we would let them in. Come on in.
Amazing.
And how we got to Pharrell and meeting Pharrell was, there was a school across the way, Princess Anne High School, and the police used to try and basically investigate us like they thought we were drug dealers
Oh.
because of the cars and the things that we had.
Mm-hmm.
They never seen that, so we were always low key. We were always at the studio. We rarely get a chance to even drive our cars,
Right.
so we was always in the studio. I was always making records.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, one day they came in and all my engineers were from Trinidad. They would pull up and engineer finally just said, I'm going out to speak to them. He said, why you coming here in the block? Y'all don't come in, just come knock on the door, come inside. And he said, y'all get out of the car and come in. And they came inside and they saw the Michael Jackson plaque.
Oh.
And they saw just things there that, they would never see anywhere.
Mm.
Then they recognized who I was from Guy. And from there, that's when we had Video Soul, and
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
actually see some things that make you know who everybody is. And they recognized me, and they say, "So you down here? What are you doing for the community?" I said, "We want to do things for the community, but we don't know anybody." She says, "Can you do us a favor?" He's like, "What do you want? What favor you want?"
Mm-hmm.
It's like, "Can you introduce us to the principal of that school over there? We'd like to use their auditorium to do talent shows." She said, "We will do that." So they made the introduction. We met the principal and asked him, could we do talent shows there? And, they were like, under one condition, you let our students participate. And that's how we got to meet Pharrell. Everybody who competed was, of course, I Will Always Love You, Greatest Love of All, Luther Vandross song. And I was like, no, they're not the winners. The winners are these kids right here. I'll override the judges and everything,
Wow.
choosing them as the winners.
Wow.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. So I mean, shoot, you're in Virginia. You're making albums. You're cultivating the city. Obviously, still making hit records. I think we can all agree that Blackstreet's Another Level is a masterpiece. Like from top to top, I remember hearing that album for the first time, being like, man, I have to go to the studio. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. What was the inspiration? Well, obviously the title of the album is Another Level, obviously taking it to another level. But once again, how do we get to these songs? How do we get to No Diggity? How do we get to, you know what I'm saying? Like, What was the force behind it?
Well, I was actually, after the album, Jimmy Iovine had just extended another budget. He said, we need to do another Blackstreet record. The reason why, because he hated me going to work with Michael.
He did not like that.
He was like, let me give you a budget. Give me another Blackstreet album. Why you gotta go work with that mother?
Why you gotta go work with Michael Jackson?
I was like, but he would curse. He's
Yeah.
like, damn, Tay,
Yeah.
I just can't. I'm losing your focus. And
Yeah.
he was just trying everything to get me to say, okay, Jimmy, let's do another album.
Yeah.
But I had a few more things I needed to do with Michael, and then I called Jimmy. I said, I'm ready. He said, great, let's go. What you need? So he gave me what I need, and I had enough to just say, all right, we all going to Trinidad. I did the whole album in Trinidad.
Wow.
Okay. How long were you guys there?
Pre-production, we were there for like 2 months,
Okay.
maybe 3 months, and
That's some
that
inspiration
journey
for
went
your
by
ass.
fast. And,
Yeah.
But we was locked in. I had everybody's focus. I took Dow Adams, Karen Anderson, Sprag, and the guys, and we had engineers already there. But prior to doing that, I'm on my Fender Rhodes and I'm playing every song out except for No Diggity. No Diggity was the very last song.
Wow.
In fact, we did No Diggity back in Virginia, but everything else we did in Trinidad.
Really?
And when we did Don't Leave out there, we couldn't really figure out like what would be that line, that punch line besides Don't Leave. And it was stay
Vamp.
with me for. That was like the B hook,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Because we had like we was trying to make records with just full of hooks,
I agree. Like that song is all hooks almost,
Yeah.
basically. You know what I mean?
It was catchy lines,
Yeah.
and Karen Anderson she nailed it. That's what made me say, nah, I want women writing my songs,
Right.
my ballads,
Right.
because they know what they want to hear.
And and so to back up real quick, so while you work on the album, at what point did we get 2 new members of Blackstreet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good question.
Yeah.
So we got the 2 new members because I had rules, and the rules were broken. I don't want to go into in depth because,
Yeah.
now I got love for these guys. If I didn't, I wouldn't put them on. So the rules have been broken, and I just had to switch out. Now, one was my decision, and then the other one was Chauncey's decision.
Okay.
And my decision was because Joseph Stone Street just kind of, went on the deep end, after making it, everybody just think, they get caught up in their own hype.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. And he just started getting into things that was breaking the rules of the group. And I said, you know what? We paid him a visit, and we just said, this is a time we have to, move on.
Yeah.
That's when we became the Black Menudo.
Right. Yeah.
It's like switch out members,
Yeah.
So we did that, and then Chauncey wanted to let Levi go because he figured out the same thing. He was breaking the rules, and then I said, man, you gonna replace these guys because I'm tired.
Yeah.
Then something came to my head. He went and got Eric because they were longtime friends from Paterson, New Jersey. And I had, back when I was working with Michael, I used to see Dave Hollister in the hotel because he was doing backgrounds for a lot of people. He did demos out there. And he caught me. We were at the Universal Hilton, I think Hilton or Sheraton. And he would always catch me. He's like, I'm a big fan of your work, blah, blah. My cassettes. I felt like, what's that movie? That movie with Terrence.
Dang.
Hard out here
For
for
yeah,
Yeah. So
a flow.
hustle and
hustle
flow,
and flow.
hustle and flow.
So I took his demo, and I felt real bad because I was so busy, going back forth to the studio to work with Michael. And sometimes I would just stay at the studio so that I don't get bothered at the hotels. Because, these hotels are like, you didn't have like a key to get on somebody's floor. You could just go to their floor.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I don't even want to stay in a hotel because he had built me a bedroom in the studio. So I would stay at the studio a lot. But this one moment, I had already taken his demo. I never listened to it. And I said, I walked in that hotel and he was right there. He said, man, did you listen? I said, oh, God. I said, bro, I'm going to listen to your demo right now. I'm going upstairs. Give me a few minutes and I'm coming right back downstairs. Trust me. He said, you sure, man? Because, it's okay. I know you're busy. I said I was going to do it. Consider it done. I went upstairs and I listened to him sing. He had a demo. He had a couple of demos. I was like, wow. Wow.
Oh yeah.
And I went right back downstairs and he was just like, his smile was just like, wow, he listened. Now, it's almost like, respect,
man.
respect.
Yeah.
So I said, bro, you are amazing. I said, who are you family of? He said, Casey and JoJo's my cousin. I said, wow. He said, I remember seeing you when I was working on, Faith and, doing backgrounds for Casey and all of them, and I would see you on the road. But, I feel like, this is something I think, we can work on together. I said, well, I don't know if I have time, but I'm gonna let you know this. I may have something for you. And if I do, as soon as I do, I will be calling you. So,
Wow.
lo and behold, when we did the situation with Joseph Stone Street, letting him go from the group, it went bling. I said, nah, you don't have to find the other member. I got somebody. And it was two people. One was a guy who sung at this conference, and I was like, I can't find him, but I want to find the big dude. Somebody find him. And I said, he's the cousin of Casey and JoJo.
Hey, back then you could do that.
You can do
It
that.
was
And
small.
absolutely. Yeah.
And he
I
was
said,
in
I
the
think
mix.
his name was Dave.
Yeah.
Find him. I got his cassette somewhere and it was in my bag. And they found him. I talked to him on the phone. I said, yo, here's your time. I want you to come down to Virginia. We're going to fly you in. And we're going to audition you. You're going to do this song. And it was before I let you go.
Wow.
We had already had it written. And he went in the booth.
Wow.
One take.
One take,
One
Jake.
take. One take.
One take, Jake.
One
Yeah.
take.
That's
He went to church
amazing.
on us.
Yeah.
That's
And then
amazing.
afterwards, he was like, so what do you think? I was like,
How's that?
I said, amazing, man. He said, so, you gonna call me? Did I make it? I said, you on the record.
Yeah.
We keeping that.
We keeping that.
Right. Yeah.
Don't even worry about that. We keeping that.
We keeping that. And he said, are you serious? I said, yeah. If you want to be a part of us, you got it. You got the position. And that's when we started
That's
just
amazing.
nailing these songs. And he basically came in on the back end.
Yeah. Amazing.
And just nailed it, because that was one of the last songs before I let you go.
Wow.
And then You Blow My Mind. And then we got into, because the two members, it was only replacing one. It was just Joseph Stone Street first.
Yeah, initially,
Okay.
And then,
For the next album was when
next album, he left.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, I don't believe in holding anybody from their careers.
Yeah.
As soon as he asked, could I do my solo career? I had them, for 5 albums. But I said, if that's what you want to do, I'm not going to hold you back. He said, man, you sure? I'll give you point override or whatever it is. And I said, no,
Man,
run your race.
man.
And he ran his race, and that's when we got Eric and Mark
And Mark.
And Mark.
Yeah. Nah, that's
for the next album.
for another
Yeah,
level.
another
right?
level.
So I think, man, you know, you that sound has been so influential. It's such a staple in our culture. Like, what does New Jack Swing mean to you today?
New Jack Swing to me today is still here. Technically, if you're doing music with singing and rap in it, or you're fusing styles, you're fusing genres, that's New Jack Swing. Because before me, there was no genre, two genres being fused together.
No.
So it's safe to say, and I've always viewed it this way, but I'll say New Jack Swing and what you did at Uptown Records, for me, is the segue into how we get the R&B hip hop, how we get Puff and Mary and that Jodeci, Devontae Swing.
Yeah.
I feel like we get that era.
You got the branches.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
On the tree.
Yep.
Like the bridge. You know what I mean?
Timbaland and Missy and what they.
I'm talking like specifically
Did the
those
Uptown,
years
those
of like
years of,
91 to 94. Like those, like Jodeci's first album, Mary's first
Mary.
album, you know, like that, you know,
Right.
even Father MC.
I was about to say,
still,
yeah.
I did
Blended
him.
that.
He's still a part of the New Jack Swing thing.
Yep.
But if you know, you get producers like what's more Prince Marky D, you get Corey Rooney, you get, you know, Kenny Green.
Yep.
You get you
Intro,
know,
yeah.
there's an era, you know.
Stanley Brown.
Stanley Brown. Stanley Brown.
'Cause
You know
everybody
what I'm saying?
thought I made Dreamin'.
Yeah.
I was
yeah.
like, nah,
What's my man?
that's my brother. He was my music director.
He was MD.
He was MD for Guy.
Wow,
that
Stanley
right?
Brown. Like, I mean,
I didn't know that.
You get Dr. Freeze.
Dr.
You know,
Freeze,
you get-
Poison.
You know,
That's what Timmy got in.
Timmy Gallen. Yep.
So New Jack Swing was spreading like wildfire.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I say it's still here today, because we're still playing Poison.
Yeah.
We're still
Yeah.
playing No Diggity. And these are
My
all
prerogative.
Back
I like
then,
it.
for me, crazy. For me, I felt like music fusion and integration was key for me, because I always had dreams of like, how could I get Michael and Marvin Gaye on a record, or
Wow.
Michael and
Yeah.
James Brown on a record together. And it almost could have happened when James Brown wanted me to work on his album.
That would have been
And
crazy.
I always say this is my brothers, my big brothers, full force. They
Yeah.
stole my job. No, but those are my brothers, man.
Yeah.
When they did the No Static record,
Yeah,
and all
yeah, I
those
remember
records,
that era, yeah.
That was around the same time my James Brown wanted me to work with him. And I kind of blew it because I was still dealing with Gene.
Yeah.
You know, so, but yeah, New Jack Swing is still that movement. It's still that sound. And you can listen. I mean, we were the first to use auto-tune. Before T-Pain, before Rodney Jerkins, I'm the first testimony.
Wow.
First to use Logic.
You told me the Pro Tools story.
Yeah.
Where they brought Pro Tools to the
Before
studio.
Pro Tools, it was Sound Tools.
Sound.
So before Logic and Logic Pro and all of that stuff, before I even got to Apple, which was Macintosh, there was the Atari Commodore.
Yeah.
I did remember the time on an Atari Commodore. It was called Notator then.
Wow.
Then it became Notator Logic.
Oh yeah. So wow. So in that, you know, that video I talked about on YouTube, and you're making the record, I'm looking like, oh, he has a computer, and like he's working on a computer in 91. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, he's
I'll send you
in
that
it.
picture too.
Yeah,
Like,
he's in it. I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
Michael was joking with my computers, man. When I bought the computers, and he was used to Fairlight or St. Clavier.
Yeah.
Those $100,000, $200,000,
Yeah.
you know, music makers. I don't even call them sequencers,
Yeah.
right? Because they did everything. So when I bought my Commodore, and I had the laptop, and he said, "What's that?" I was like, "Oh, these are the computers I make music with." He's like, so you get sound out of it? I said, no, it's just a sequencer. It MIDIs to all of those things in the rack.
Yeah.
He said, oh, amazing. So you never thought about a Fairlight? Or he wanted to buy me one. I was like, you never thought about a Synclavier?
Synclavier.
Yeah.
I said, can't afford it. He
$100,000.
said, okay.
Pop.
I said, he said, Norma, can you buy a couple of more of these? He
Couple
said,
more.
because if it breaks, I don't want to be shut down. I want to keep going.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, he just bought all these computers and
Just in case.
we never had to use them.
Wow.
My little computer took a beating.
Oh no, man.
But yeah.
It took a beating all the way to 25 million.
All the way to 25 million. Now,
Amazing.
with the New Jack Swing, were you trying to create a new genre of music? Was that, or were you just doing what you feel?
I was doing what I was feeling.
I'm just making music.
I didn't have a name. The name was given to me by my brother, rest in peace, Bryan-Michael Cooper. I just had the sound, and I knew it was doing something to create a culture, create fashion, create everything. It was that movement.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Bryan-Michael Cooper then was my media coach. I had 3 media coaches, and the first one was Wendy Williams.
Really?
Wendy Williams was my first media coach coming out of college. That's why she never talked about me. But because I was like a little brother to her.
Wow.
And she was interning, with Sounds of New York and GL Productions.
Yeah.
And she's the one who taught me how to talk to people and do interviews like this. And then it was Nelson George.
The great
And then
Nelson
from
George.
Nelson George, I went to Bryan-Michael Cooper. But he was the one that kind of sorted out me giving this music a name. And he just kept going. I kept having every session. Did you find a name yet? Did you come up with a name? He said, next time I come and you don't come up with a name, I'm going to give you one.
Wow.
And he came the next time and he said, did you find a name? You got to tell me, man. I said, no, I don't know what to call this music. He said, okay, I'm going to give you a name right now. Let's talk. So he's coaching me. He said, I got it. Now, at this time, he was the co-writer of New Jack City.
Okay, because I was about to ask about the
yeah.
movie and how that,
So he said, I got it. New Jack Swing. I said, why you call it that? He said, because you the new kid on the block that's swinging it.
Wow.
And you making a sound here that is creating a whole nother world. And it's a new thing out here that people are really gravitating to, and it's your music. I said, wow. So I can use, he said, run with it. Keep telling people this is your sound. When they say, what's the name of this music? Or what you call it, you say New Jack Swing. And that's going to be in the TV film, and it's actually in a book. You can read more about that.
That's amazing.
Oh, I love that. And then you guys went on to be in the movie.
Yeah.
And be on the
soundtrack.
Oh, the soundtrack. Yeah.
Said, you guys should be in the movie. I'm going to write a part in for you.
Crazy.
And he wrote the part of us, and that's how we went, and we came up with New Jack City.
So, wow.
Wow.
So I've always wanted to ask you this question about that particular song. That song always felt like it was the R&B hip-hop version of New Jack Swing. Like you basically took the same beat.
Yeah.
This
and
is
just,
the sound.
yeah, but did the guy thing on top of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It was, man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just didn't want to go too far off from the anthem.
I got you.
And I said, well, it's got to be club because it's going to be in the club. They told me what the scene was. And I said, okay.
Love it.
So that whole tuning and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
I kind of made it look like he's really tuning his bass. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. All right, here we go. Boom, 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 boom. I don't know why nobody ain't remake it.
And but I'm saying, you know what? And the brilliant usage of those James Brown samples. Like just the little hits that, you know what I mean?
And
that's
I
so
use that
crazy.
same 1, 2, 3, 4,
Hit
hit
it.
it. Boom.
Yeah.
That was in every
The
beat.
ending.
I like Jane Child. What was the other record? It was under Groove Me.
Groove Me, yeah.
What else? I used that sample so much, man. I wore that sample
That's
out.
amazing.
Even out to the point it was like we didn't have to clear it. It was just
It's just in there.
it was just in
Right.
there.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
yeah.
You said earlier that you never say that, I made a hit. You just wanted to make good music.
Yeah.
Do you have a guiding principle of like, how do you know when it's like, this is good. This is what I wanted to make. This is good. Because I understand the perspective of, I don't like to say I make a hit because that's for the people. We have to release it to the
Yes.
people
Yeah.
and then they'll tell us
They'll decide.
if it's a hit or not.
Yep.
But you get to decide if it's good. What is the thing that lets you know that I have a good or a great record?
My team.
Okay.
My brother, Markel from Rex and Effect,
Oh,
was my A&R. But before him, it was everybody in front of my window
He said,
okay.
on the first floor. And y'all see that in the TV film, but I can't wait to show y'all what that looked like. And everybody would crowd around my window. That's when I knew I had some.
That's
So, yeah.
amazing.
When
So
I
you're
did
producing
Awana-
/ DJing because, like,
Yeah,
as a
DJing, put
DJ,
it
you have
through
to know, okay, they
it was
feeling
like a
that.
picnic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Everywhere,
Yeah.
outside
proper
of people's
cookout.
windows,
Right.
it was good grass. My window, it was dirt
Wow.
from people just dancing. We couldn't keep it fertile. It's just people was just feel like, yo, this is the dance floor.
Yeah.
And that's how, I knew I had something. And then it can kind of continue with my brother and Arkell. They would be my ears. And then, I had folks like Madeline Nelson.
Madeline Nelson, yeah.
She's the one who sorted out Rump Shaker.
Wow.
She was the one who told me stop. Because you can overproduce a song.
Right. Yeah.
She was like, I said, so what is about this song that you like? Like, what makes you say I'm finished? She said, the bass is there. The hook is there. What you're saying says it all.
Wow. Don't overthink this.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah, that's what made me give her the job.
Wow.
Yep.
Don't overthink this.
A hip hop record that comes in with a saxophone, like or
Just off the top.
just off the
Top of the record.
off the top.
Yeah.
That's
Man,
amazing.
Doing that video in Virginia was like the first biggest video
I can only
of
imagine.
Virginia.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where everybody could say they were a part, including Pharrell, who wrote my rap. This was huge.
Yeah.
The mayor, when they changed mayors, and the new mayor, who was a female, she then came to my studio when she heard I was just doing things in Virginia to keep people together and keep kids off the street. I was doing basketball tournaments. Allen Iverson played for my celebrity team before he became, big. Who else? Kevin Garnett. All of them played for my celebrity team. It was music and fun. I didn't do much. I kind of kept it in house, and whoever was in house was a part of the team and a part of the movement.
Love it.
That's amazing.
Well, man, we are grateful that you came and spent all this time with us.
Yes.
Just sit down. We could talk forever and ever and ever, man.
Yeah.
You are my favorite. You've done so much for the culture.
Thank you so much, man. Thank y'all both.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And before we always close out allowing the guests to give the people a quote, but we have to
We
have to show the book. We have to
gotta do
show
it.
the book. It's out now. The legend, Teddy Riley. Remember the times.
Yep.
It's a memoir of Teddy Riley. Go pick it up. Order it online. However you get your media. Is the audio book on the way?
The audiobook is on Amazon.
On
And this is
Amazon.
on Amazon too, but
Okay.
people have been getting the sold out sign. We went #1 and #2 on Amazon.
Incredible.
Yeah, so
Incredible.
And you said you guys are doing a show also too, right?
Yes, there will be a documentary first,
Okay.
docu-series,
Okay.
just telling people how this music was made. Sort of like putting it in on film, all the questions that you guys want to know.
Nice.
It'll be on film, and then talking about the tragic moments and things that we went through, and then the TV film will come after that.
Nice.
Do you have any idea of who's playing you yet?
You know, it's so crazy. The people I wanted to play with got older. You know,
Okay.
Jarrell Jerome.
Okay. Okay.
You know, he looks like my sons,
Wow.
and he looked like he could be my son, but he's now older. And Taraji, you know, as my mother.
Wow.
Okay.
And then, you know, we can always figure out who my brother is, who Guy would be, and all the artists that I work with. But I feel like the first movie that should come out first, and I hope that they get this thing going, is the Uptown film. Then,
So they've been talking about this for a minute, right?
they have.
Uptown film.
So if that happens, then we come with New Jack Swing because he was the start of it. Then, not even that, I think it should be the rooftop first because that was the roller skating ring that all of the street celebrities came to.
Wow.
People who you've probably named, you see a lot of rappers name themselves after, like, you know, AZ.
AZ, yeah.
And then you had Lil Man and Fat Jack and, you know, all of the big guys. And all of those guys went to the rooftop. Now, A$AP Ferg's father
It's Pops, yeah.
was my classmate,
Okay.
and that's Dal Ferg. Dal Ferg used to paint all of our covers for our wheels on our Jeeps, our
Wow.
Pathfinders, and everything. He used to do, like, if you've seen Guy or anybody, we had the airbrush.
Airbrush stuff?
Of course.
That was Dal Ferguson.
And he also did
D-Ferg.
those legendary logos. He did Uptown
He
logos,
did
right?
Uptown logo.
Bad
Yep.
Boy, he did Bad Boy's
Yep.
logo. Like, he did some legendary
Yeah,
logos,
he
too.
did our logo, and we also were a part of the Rucker.
Okay.
So he did all the shirts for that. He did everything.
Wow.
He was one of our guys, you know. And we're celebrating him, you know. Nephew's out there doing his thing.
Doing his thing right now.
I just really feel like, you know, a lot of people who I went to school with are the people who are responsible for either kicking me off the block or, you know, me being protected.
Word. Word.
Yeah.
But, you know, we like you said, Johnta, we usually do a closing quote. We have our guest drop some gems at the end.
And, one last gem, because he's been
gem.
dropping gems all
you're right. You're right.
for the whole sit down.
Yeah.
So I'll give this gem.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a gem about what's in the book, you know. Most people get distracted and get detoured from their belief in their creation. If you believe in your creation, never let anyone detour you from your creation. If you believe in it, you know, follow it all the way because it's about a plan. If you plan that and you plan the outcome and you know your end goal, then you know you have a good project. But the other thing is protect yourself. Have the right surrounding, the right people in your corner, not in your circle.
I love that.
So you have corners, people in your corner is going to be there. Those people that ride and die for you. People in your circle is just going to circle, they circling themselves out. They just
Serve like a rotating door.
You know what I'm saying? And then they're gone. So I'm always now, like, I have to vet things out to see if, are you a circle or are you a corner?
I love that analogy.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The
Mr.
legend.
Teddy Riley.
Yes.
That's
indeed.
a wrap.
Peace.